What's going on, buddy?
It's fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a long story, but so interrupt me if you have any questions.
Sure.
But basically, I'm 22, and I got into, I got into NYU in 2020. So
Okay.
everything was on Zoom, and next semester I meet this girl on Zoom. We end up meeting up in person. Everything's going pretty good. A week later, he asked me, okay, what are we? I said, I guess we're dating. And she said, you know what? Then you have to live with me.
Whoa.
So I said, okay.
Damn.
If
This
this
bitch
is
is
the
calling all the
deal,
shots.
sure. But my dad had cancer, so
Oh my God.
I was taking my dad to the hospital maybe 3 times a month.
Jesus.
So I told her,
Christ.
I have to still be at home.
Yeah.
So, she said, well, you can live with me for 3 days a week, and then 4 days a week, you can go back home and deal with that. So what ends up happening is that, for context, my dad's from Lebanon, my mom's from Russia, and every time that I go to the airport, this is sort of important, I get stopped because of my name. I look pretty white, but they always ask me like wild questions, like you ever met Osama bin Laden and Heights, this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Things are progressing. And 1 year later, so now we're like February 2021, we go to the airport and she's coming in on an F1 visa. I'm a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
We get we get to the line and I tell her, okay, if they stop me, you wait half an hour, you take an Uber back home, and then we'll deal with it. So it turns out they rip her visa right in front of me. They take her to the same detention place that I get to.
Jesus.
Pretty much the same thing that happened to Hassan recently.
I'm sorry, they took her visa or they ripped it up?
They ripped it up in front of her, and then we're like, you know what? You have a ripped visa. We can't admit you into the country
What the fuck?
without questioning.
Holy shit.
I get in the room, and they start asking me like, hey, usually they just ask me like, okay, do you know these like random names? I say no. It takes a couple hours, and then I go home. This time around, they're like, okay, at NYU, were you recruiting men or women? So I was like, hold up, you're asking me if I'm bi? What's going on here? And they're like, just answer the question. So I said, I wasn't recruiting anyone. I just met this girl a year ago, and things are going okay.
Right.
So then they hit me with the question of like, oh, we see that your dad's pretty sick. When he dies, are you excited to take your family to Syria? And I was like, we're not even from Syria. Like, what's this whole line of questioning?
Yeah.
But when we get back into the Uber, my girlfriend is like, hey, they told me a lot of bad stuff about you and your dad. Like, you have to fess up. And I said, I have nothing to fess up. They're just being racist. And she was like, why would the government ever be racist? And I was like,
Some
okay,
dumb
this is
rich
like
NYU girl. Go ahead.
yeah, but basically, she was born in Paris, but she lived her whole life in Singapore because her dad's an oil exec there.
Oh God.
I guess
You
the
wanna talk
Singaporean
about
government
evil.
really got into her mind of like, the government never lies.
That's it.
But,
So you're talking about a fascist.
Exactly. So, this is like 2022. Then, my dad dies in
Sorry,
May
man.
of that year. So February to May. And the whole thing is that she never met my dad because he was already pretty sick.
Yeah.
So then, I think we basically, she started talking about wanting to go to medical school. And she's like, it's really difficult for someone who's technically an international student to get into medical school. So, what if we just get married
Oh
in
God.
2023? So that's like 2 years later from meeting. So I say, sure. And so we get married at City Hall.
Jesus Christ, you're a really compliant motherfucker, dude.
Oh, wait, it gets worse. It gets worse.
Oh God, it gets worse.
Again,
Right.
this is how it's convoluted the story is. So when her parents got divorced, she was like 15. They were living in Singapore, and her mom wanted to go back to France. So her mom took her back to France. Her brother stayed with the dad in Singapore. Turns out the mom and the daughter end up having an argument, and they stopped talking. And so my wife ended up being in a mental institution for 2 years, and then she escaped in Paris. And they had to find her in some sort of tree a couple days later.
When
so
she's like
I knew that I was
6,
getting into
17?
some crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I bet it fucking.
So
yanked, though.
yeah, so basically, we get married at City Hall next year. Now it's already 2024. I don't end up getting an internship And she's really pressing me on that. And she says, you know what? My brother is doing venture capital in Palo Alto. He
Ugh.
has a company that he can stick you in there. So I just go to
Ugh.
Palo Alto for the summer.
Jesus Christ.
Now, what happens is that, for context, her grandfather ended up being the last surgeon who operated on the Shah of Iran after he got deposed.
Oh my
And so he was
God.
broke at the he got broke at, he was broke at the time. So he had to give them to pay the grandfather. He gave him like a house in Corsica. So over the summer, she was like, "Okay, you're gonna meet like my whole family in Corsica. Like now's the time."
I'm sorry,
But
dude. This woman sounds cartoonishly evil. She's a
right,
French insane woman whose dad was a oil exec in Singapore, and her family has a house in Corsica from the Shah of Iran.
yeah,
Who wants you to work in venture capital. That's who you're fucking. That's who this woman is.
right. So technically, not I was not working in venture capital. I was working for one of the companies they invested in.
Okay. But either
But she was
way,
basically,
her brother's in venture
she was
capital.
exactly
I'm
right.
connecting all the dots, and there's not one non-evil dot that I have fucking heard so far. But go ahead.
Right. Yeah, but and he's like, he's doing venture capital, but he's a DJ on the side, so he's basically never working. He's just DJing around the world. So it's like the whole, wild family.
Jesus
So
Christ.
we end up in in Corsica, but she's like, hey, so here's the thing. My family's pretty Islamophobic. I'm Muslim, right? I have a pretty Arab name from my username.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, well, your mom. So my mom was born in Russia, but to a Jewish family. So she was like, let's just say that you're Jewish. They're also like, they don't like Jews either, but like they like Jews a little bit better than they like Muslims. So we go there.
She's like, it
and,
can play. It can play.
Yeah, we can make Jew work. Muslim, we're
Right,
dead in
exactly.
the water. We can figure something out with Jew. All right, go ahead.
So I go there and I start like, I have to make up all of these things. Like people, they ask me, like, when was your bar mitzvah? And I'm like, I have to defer to her
What?
to be
By
like,
the
how
way,
much,
dude,
how
is
long do you
there-
take the story?
Buddy, is there a moment here where you're like,
Uh-huh.
from the moment you meet this girl, she's like, you're moving in with me, and
Right.
all the way to pretend you're Jewish, is there a moment where it crosses your mind to stand up for yourself, or is the pussy that good?
So here's the thing: we never had sex. I got married to her.
You never had
4 years,
sex!
nothing.
What the fuck are you talking about? Are you out of your fucking
That was
mind?
the whole thing I was dealing with. Those are the cards that I was dealt.
No, you motherfucker! Fold! Then you fold those cards, and you play another hand. Oh my fucking god!
That was not to divert too far, but she since we got married in 2022, she was like, I'm gonna be. So she's a year older than me, so she was like, 24s are getting a little too old to have a kid, so we have to have a kid in 2025.
Oh my god!
And
you
so she
wait.
was like, I wanna.
You had sex after you got married, at least, or no?
No. So she wanted to have a kid, but she didn't even get to the part of like, how we're gonna make it. Okay.
Dude, what the
So-
fuck are you talking about?
I'm telling you,
I've
the whole thing was,
rarely been
I-
this floored by a single question. This might be the question that has fucked me up the most in Stavi's world
Right.
history. Oh my! And there's more to this. Your question.
Yeah, like,
Okay. Whew. All right. Finish up. Go ahead.
all right. Like, just for context, like, when that whole thing happened, she was like, we need to make sure that you can have kids. So I was like, okay, I'll go to the urologist. And she was like, no, you have to go to the gynecologist. We had a big argument about this. And then she took me to the gynecologist office. It was the fastest doctor's appointment ever, where they were like, why are you here? And I said, she brought me in there. And they're like, just go to the urologist. So, this is the type of person I'm dealing with. So,
Why?
basically, when I was in California, she was like, okay, I wanted to have a big marriage, a big wedding. I didn't want to get married just at City Hall. So she started planning up a big marriage for April of this year. We put down a down payment on it, like everything. And in Corsica, I'm making all these lies about being Jewish, even though
I forgot about that part.
And I come back from California, so, and she tells me like, you know what, we need to have a talk. And I go, okay. And she goes, I've been thinking about how you get stopped at the airport, and I'm pretty sure I never met your dad because he was a terrorist. I was like,
Dude.
okay, this is getting out of pocket. And she goes, but I think you're a terrorist too. So what are you going to do about that? And I was like,
What?
I wasn't even entertaining the question until she started pressing me on it. Like, okay, what are you going to do about it? I was like, clearly, the government has a bone to pick with me, but like, there's nothing,
Dude,
it's such a mute point.
why the fuck do
So-
you still talk to this woman,
I'm
let alone
so
marry?
confused.
What the fuck are you getting out of this arrangement? You don't fuck
So what
her.
happened?
You just fucking hang out with some dumb, insane bitch who's racist and every member of her family is evil in a different way? What the fuck are you
mean-
even doing?
I'll have to talk to Eldest about what parts, what details to censor. But her dad, so she was paying $10,000 to live on next to the Empire State Building in a studio apartment, and then her dad was like, "Okay, I can't be paying that much money." So she was like, "Okay, I want to get an apartment on the Upper East Side." So he flew in with just a suitcase full of money, and he bought an apartment for us for like $2.5 million.
That's an apartment
With 2
shopping
bedrooms.
tip for you, stuff.
Oh, that's smart, man. That's smart, Eldest.
Yeah. If you need
So
rest for
are you
where
getting?
to go.
Are you at least just living? Like, legitimately, what are you getting out of this, brother? Just answer me
Pretty
that.
much.
Happiness doesn't seem to
Pretty
be the answer.
No, I was
You
not
don't
happy.
get the
I just
fuck.
I felt like the longer, if I can just like wait until she gets into medical school, maybe things will get better because she's always stressed about like her future career plans. So I was like, once the stress goes out, then we can actually discuss the fact that I'm not really happy in all of this. But
Jesus Christ, dude.
so I end up, we have this talk. Then she's like, your mom. So when she met your dad, she became a Muslim, and I'm like, okay. She goes, that's an extremist act. Do you know that, right? And I was like, I told her that my mom can do whatever she wants. Like, what's the what's the
fuck?
point?
She has free will.
And she was like, yeah, but you have to do something about that. So I end up just not entertaining any of this. And she tells me, well, you know what? We have to take some time apart. So you have to live in the other bedroom in this apartment.
Okay.
And I'm like, I have a house in Jackson Heights. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
going to live there. She was like, well, what if immigration pops up in the middle of the night? I need you to be here so we can prove this is a real marriage.
Oh my god.
So
You have all the fucking
packed all
control,
my
you
stuff,
fucking
basically.
idiot.
I moved into the
Divorce?
second
What
bedroom.
are you doing?
And,
Divorce this woman.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Oh, finish up, man. But the answer is divorce her and live your life for the first time ever.
Right. Stand up for myself, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, what happened was her friend, basically, over the course of the week, I was in the other bedroom. Her friend was like, "Oh yeah, my lease just ran out. Like, can I use your second bedroom?" But she was like, "Sure, you can move in. You know what? Let's throw a party." So the day that her friend is moving in, I had to pack all my stuff into an Uber to drive out back to my house. Plus, she was like rushing me because she's like, at 5 o'clock we're having a party, so hurry up. So I'm like, okay. I packed all my stuff. I head back home, and she tells me, you know what? But you still have to take me out to dinner once a week.
Dude, what are you
So
talking
I entertained
about?
that.
Okay, stop. I don't fucking give a fuck anymore. This is insane. Shut the fuck up. I can't hear about all the ways you're cucked in every way a man can be cucked. It's fucking crazy, dude. Shut the fuck up. There can't be more to this. If there is, I don't want to hear it. You're making me sad. You need to divorce this woman immediately. What are you fucking talking about?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about at all? Every part of this is horrific. I really answer me. What are you getting out of this? Please, give me one sentence of the positives of your relationship with this woman. Go. One positive. I've heard 1,000 negatives. Tell me one positive.
I guess in the end, it makes me feel like a good person that I'm trying to, get someone, help someone get their life together.
She's
and,
fucking rich. Her fucking dad killed a bunch of Asians on an oil rig to get her a fucking $2 million apartment. This is a bad she's fucking, there's nothing good to be done here. You want to help people get their lives together, help a fucking immigrant who's poor. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? French heiress, some evil French heiress who won't even suck you off?
Indeed.
Who called your dad your deceased father, may he rest in peace, a fucking terrorist? She called your dead dad a terrorist and she won't suck your dick? And you were like, yeah, I'll take a fucking Uber XL with all my belongings to Jackson Heights while you have a fucking party with other evil people?
Do you think she might fuck you at all ever? Do you think that's
You're
ever
married
on the
to her
table?
and she won't fuck you. I don't want to break the conversation open.
She wanted to have a kid, so I was like, at some
Yeah, she'll
point,
let
she's
you
gonna have to get
nut
along
in
to
her
it.
4 times until she's pregnant. This woman has like some weird this is a truly mentally ill in the most classic sense person I've ever heard of. I don't understand what she's getting out of this. I want to say she's cheating, but she might just be insane. I don't even know if she is. But it doesn't matter either way though, dude. This is fucking crazy. You have done nothing but be out on the limb for her, and I don't know, dude. You're in deep as fuck.
Yeah. So basically, at this point, I haven't talked to her since October. Basically, I took her out to dinner once, and she was like, "Are you doing your homework?" And I was like, "Yes." And it was just like all about, what am I doing at school, which just felt like extremely awkward. So she was like, "Okay, you know what? We have to put this relationship on hold for a couple months." And I was like, "Okay, sure. This sounds okay to me." And we haven't talked since October. And then like 2 months ago, her dad was like, "Hey," he emailed me and was like, "Can you send me the tax returns from last year?" So at that point, I got pretty offended because I was like, my wife isn't even writing to me for this, mundane thing.
Yeah, fuck that.
Plus, he's not even mentioning are we still married? Like, I was getting sort of suspicious of did she divorce me? And she didn't even tell me that she divorced me.
Yeah.
So basically, now I'm in this position where, as you can tell, I feel kind of obligated. I felt obligated since I met her in 2021. Because the first day, basically the first time I ever met her, she took me to my apartment because I was like, I heard she was having some trouble with calculus, and I was like, okay, let me help you with this. I got in there, and the apartment was like filthy. And so it turns out that in Singapore, she had like a team of maids cleaning up after her. So I started
you have listen. You have 30 seconds to ask a question. You're pissing me off.
What do I do? Do I risk sending her back to the mental institution, or do I just cut it off and feel her whole family liked me except basically her?
Listen to me. There's never been a clearer question in my life. There's never been a clear answer. This woman has done nothing but take advantage of you and offend you in any way. She hasn't sucked. You haven't fucked even though you're married. She told you to leave. Her dad is asking you for fucking tax documents, but she won't even talk to you. She has not added anything to your life for even 1 fucking second. And she's a bad person who had fucking maids her whole life and who you feel obligated to. I don't know what the fuck's going on with your psychology, brother. You need to be in therapy more than anyone that's ever called into this show. There's no discussion. You will not say anything else to me. You are done talking. If you don't divorce this woman, please unsubscribe, Eldis. We will refund you all the money you've ever spent a lifetime on Patreon. I don't want the money of a man who talked to me. I'm holding the mirror up to you. You're cucked in a way. This is when Republicans make up what liberals act like. They're thinking of you. They're thinking of when they think like they'll just like this woman. If she told you to chop your dick off and become a woman, I'm not convinced you wouldn't do it. You would do whatever the fuck she asked, and she hasn't given you anything. You have some kind of crazy, weird, maybe it's a humiliation fetish. Maybe it's some kind of, some shit with your family. I don't know what it is, but divorce this woman immediately. This might not even be your fucking call. And by the way, if immigration asks you, you don't lie. You tell them exactly how she behaves. You say, we've never consummated the marriage. I was waiting, and she told me to leave. This doesn't feel like my wife. She's crazy and her family's rich, so I'm scared of her, but we're not together. That's what the fuck you tell them.